The shrieks rang out over the community pool deck, sharp and grating, like fingers scraping across a blackboard. Margaret Hutchinson's face had turned a deep, furious red, resembling a tomato left too long in the sun. She gripped her phone tightly, her knuckles pale from the pressure as she yelled into it. "Yes, 911. There's a man here threatening me. He's refusing to allow me entry to my own community pool. I pay my dues. This is assault." Her voice broke with exaggerated distress, yet her eyes blazed with raw anger. I remained perfectly composed, cool and collected, holding my clipboard while observing this woman in her 50s throw what amounted to a full-grown adult tantrum. Just behind me, slightly out of direct sight, but within my side vision, stood Marcus Chin, my lawyer. His phone was recording video, silently documenting every intense moment of Margaret's outburst. She had no clue she was on camera, and truthfully, that knowledge added an extra layer of satisfaction to the entire ordeal. Allow me to provide some context. My name is David Martinez, and 3 months earlier, I had become the youngest HOA president ever in Willowbrook Estates. I took over a total disaster left by the prior board, which had been headed by Margaret Hutchinson herself. For 5 years, she had managed the neighborhood like her own private domain, showing favoritism, disregarding the bylaws, and treating the community pool as her exclusive retreat. My initial priority was straightforward: enforce the long-ignored rules. I distributed notices regarding delinquent dues, displayed explicit guidelines for pool use, and, crucially, suspended pool access for repeated offenders. Margaret led that list with $8,000 in outstanding dues and 17 recorded violations, such as bringing unapproved guests, holding parties after closing hours, and verbally harassing the pool maintenance crew. The regulations were unambiguous and displayed prominently in 3 spots around the pool area. Yet Margaret had functioned beyond accountability for so long that she truly thought rules didn't apply to her. Upon receiving her suspension letter by certified mail, she dismissed it with laughter. When I disabled her key fob, she attempted to slip in behind other residents at the gate. After that stopped working, she began appearing during my volunteer shifts as a pool monitor, challenging my authority. Today marked her most audacious attempt. She showed up accompanied by 6 guests, all loaded with coolers and inflatable pool toys, behaving as if the place belonged to her. "David," she said, flashing a fake sweet smile that never touched her eyes, "surely you can bend the rules for a founding member of this community. My sister is here, visiting from out of state." "I'm sorry, Margaret," I responded, keeping my voice professional even as I fought back a grin. "Your pool access remains revoked until your balance is paid in full, and you've signed the behavioral agreement detailed in your notice." That was the moment her facade crumbled. Her expression twisted into something harsh and unpleasant as she advanced closer, pointing her finger aggressively toward my chest. "Listen up, you petty little control freak. I've lived in this neighborhood since before you were even born. I created this HOA from nothing. You think you can just come in here and bully me?" "I'm not bullying anyone," I replied evenly. "I'm merely upholding the bylaws that you personally helped draft." Per Section 4, Subsection 3, any member with dues unpaid for over 6 months loses access to community facilities. Her sister and the other guests fidgeted awkwardly behind her, obviously mortified by the escalating spectacle. One of them gently pulled at Margaret's arm. "Maybe we should just head to the public pool instead." But Margaret was far past listening. She jerked her arm free and amplified her volume even more. "This is discrimination. Harassment. I'll have your position, David Martinez. I'll contact the news channels. I'll broadcast this everywhere on social media. The whole world will see what a dictator you are. That's your prerogative," I said, subtly nodding toward Marcus, who had maneuvered into an ideal spot to record both of us clearly. "But the rules are applied fairly to all residents." That pushed her over the edge. She hurled her beach bag onto the concrete and yanked out her phone. "Fine, you want to play tough? I'm calling the cops. You're threatening me. You're physically blocking me from property I own." "I haven't laid a hand on you, Margaret. I'm simply standing here with my clipboard, recording this encounter as mandated by HOA policy. liar, she bellowed, then launched into her phone with rehearsed panic. Hello, police? I need assistance right away at the Willowbrook Estates pool. A man is refusing to let me enter. He's acting aggressively, and I'm afraid for my safety. Behind me, Marcus discreetly adjusted his position for a clearer shot, making sure the footage would plainly capture the 5 feet of distance between Margaret and me. My relaxed stance, and her dramatic act, Margaret kept up her Oscar-level performance for the dispatcher. He's obstructing my way. He's menacing me. I have witnesses. She waved frantically at her uncomfortable guests, who were already retreating from the confrontation. Less than 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars arrived in the pool parking lot. Officers Patricia Williams and James Thompson walked up with the tired looks of law enforcement officers all too familiar with neighborhood association disputes. Officers, what's the issue here? Officer Williams inquired, her hand lightly placed on her radio as she spoke. Margaret wasted no time diving into her tearful tale, producing fake tears on cue. This man is discriminating against me. I've been a resident here for 20 years, and he's on some ego-fueled rampage, denying me access to the pool that I help fund. Officer Williams listened attentively with a nod, then shifted her attention to me. Sir, would you mind sharing your perspective? Certainly, I replied, retrieving a thick manila folder attached to my clipboard. I'm the HOA president, Miss. Hutchinson's pool access has been revoked because of $8,000 in delinquent dues and numerous breaches of pool regulations. Here are the supporting documents, including the certified mail receipt confirming she received proper notification. Margaret's complexion shifted from crimson to a deep violet. That's completely false. I never got any such notice. At that moment, Marcus moved forward. Officers, I'm Marcus Chin, legal counsel for the Willowbrook Estates. HOA, I've been recording this whole exchange. He raised his phone. I have clear video evidence of Miss Hutchinson advancing toward Mr. Martinez, issuing threats and making unfounded allegations of assault. Would you care to view it? Margaret's face paled dramatically as the realization hit that she'd been filmed. You aren't allowed to record me without my consent. That's against the law. Actually, Officer Thompson cut in. California requires 2-party consent only for private conversations, but this is a public space with visible security signage. Recording here is entirely permissible. Marcus linked his phone to his tablet and began playing the footage for the officers. It captured everything in sharp, high-definition detail. Margaret advancing aggressively, me remaining stationary 5 feet away, her warnings about media exposure, and her obviously exaggerated statements to the 911 dispatcher. Officer Williams viewed the video with arched eyebrows, then directed a firm gaze at Margaret. Ma'am, filing a false report with 911 is a misdemeanor offense. You alleged assault and threats, but the footage plainly demonstrates that neither took place. But he was intimidating me just by being there. Margaret stammered desperately. Standing in a public space holding a clipboard does not constitute intimidation, Officer Thompson stated firmly. However, abusing emergency services is indeed a criminal act. We could take you into custody right now. Margaret's mouth gapped open and shut repeatedly, like a fish gasping for air. Her sister moved closer. Officers, please have mercy. She's simply emotional. We'll depart right away. Officer Williams glanced at her colleague. We'll issue a warning this once, Miss Hutchinson. But if you make another unfounded 911 call, you will face arrest. Is that clear? Margaret nodded silently, her earlier bravado completely gone. Moreover, Officer Thompson continued, I recommend you accept the HOA's rulings on your pool privileges. If you disagree, resolve it through appropriate legal avenues, not by creating disturbances and submitting fake emergency reports. As the officers turned to depart, Officer Williams drew me aside briefly. You managed that situation admirably. Continue keeping detailed records. Individuals like her rarely back down after a single incident. She proved correct. In the following 2 weeks, Margaret intensified her efforts against me. She flooded board members' inboxes with countless emails packed with outrageous claims and subtle menaces. She shared lengthy tirades on the community Facebook group, which administrators deleted for breaching guidelines. She even attempted to circulate a recall petition, managing to collect just 3 signatures, all from her close wine group companions, Marcus and I. Carefully recorded every move. We archived the emails, captured screenshots of the online posts, and saved footage from my doorbell camera of her efforts to approach me at my residence. We were assembling an unbreakable dossier. The climax occurred at the subsequent HOA meeting. Margaret arrived, accompanied by a handful of allies, prepared to attempt an overthrow. She hadn't been formally informed that her suspended status barred her from board meetings, but she entered forcefully regardless. I moved to oust David Martinez as president for abusing his authority, she declared, marching to the front of the room as if she still held command. You aren't permitted to propose motions. I responded steadily from my position at the board table. You're no longer a member in good standing. In truth, you shouldn't even be present. This is an open meeting. I have full rights to attend. Actually, Marcus rose from the spectator area. HOA meetings are restricted to members in good standing. Considering your revocation and recent conduct, your presence here amounts to trespassing. That was when we revealed our strongest move. Additionally, due to the recorded harassment, the fabricated 911 call, and ongoing interference with HOA operations, the board has unanimously approved seeking a restraining order against you, Margaret. The room exploded in reaction. Several residents clapped, having endured Margaret's dominance for years. Others reacted with shocked gasps at the unfolding spectacle. Margaret remained motionless, her jaw dropped in disbelief. You have no authority to do that, she eventually choked out. We do. And we already have, declared Robert Kim, the vice president. The decision was unanimous. You forced our hand. Marcus walked over to Margaret, holding a folder. Miss Hutchinson, you are hereby served with the cease and desist order. Any additional contact with Mr. Martinez or disruption of HOA affairs will trigger immediate litigation. On top of that, I interjected, your latest behavior justifies placing liens on your property to recover the outstanding dues. We've shown considerable leniency, but it's exhausted. Margaret scanned the room frantically, hunting for backing that simply wasn't there. Even her wine club associates avoided her gaze. The neighbors, who had tolerated her intimidation for so long, observed with quiet fulfillment as justice finally arrived. This isn't finished, she yelled, retreating toward the exit. I'll take every one of you to court. My attorney will be in touch. We're eager for that, Marcus replied brightly. I'm certain the court will find the video of your false 911 call and our thorough documentation of harassment quite compelling. 2 weeks afterward, Margaret's attorney reached out to Marcus. Upon examining the proof, including the 911 audio and video evidence, he counseled her to abandon any planned suits and meet the HOA's requirements. The prospective legal costs alone could have ruined her financially, let alone the risk of criminal prosecution for emergency service misuse. During the special board session the next month, residents voted decisively to proceed with comprehensive legal measures. Margaret received an official ban from all HOA facilities until she settled her dues, plus accrued penalties and attorney fees, now exceeding $15,000. The restraining order was approved, mandating that she maintain a 100-foot distance from me and end all communication with board members. The ultimate setback occurred when Margaret's workplace, a nearby real estate agency, learned of the scandal. A realtor facing a restraining order and known for false emergency calls damaged the company's image. She was discreetly dismissed, with her real estate license facing scrutiny from the state regulatory body. I stood in the HOA office as Marcus submitted the last documents. Through the window, I observed a moving van arriving at Margaret's home. Rumors had circulated that she'd put the house on the market, unable to cover the escalating legal expenses and penalties without her realtor salary. She did this to herself, Marcus remarked, noticing my focus. $25,000 in combined fines and legal costs. prohibited from HOA amenities, a restraining order on her record, and the end of her real estate profession, all because she refused to pay her dues and adhere to the rules like the rest of us. I nodded, experiencing a blend of vindication and sympathy. Margaret's property sold quickly, far under market price in her haste to escape. As the moving truck departed carrying her final possessions, I spotted her in her vehicle, her shoulders heaving with what appeared to be sobs. Despite all her bravado and warnings, she had been utterly overcome by her own hubris and the straightforward enforcement of regulations she had once helped create.